setting up security duties to a profile, which then changes, but the profile is taken over by another employee who was not allowed to access information. And this is then discovered by, I would say, people within the company, employees, who are actively looking for that.
Because works councils, similar to what you've just said, Norman, sometimes abuse privacy rights that the employees have to leverage them to get something else. It happens rarely. Most works councils and their members are perfectly normal employees and only have the best in mind for employees and the companies. But if there's some other dispute situation, many of them have been thinking of GDPR and the likes and abusing this. They don't often go to the regulator, but it can happen. They might take their own external counsel, which the company has to pay. And then you might even end up in court or conciliation committees, at least in Germany, and I think a few other continental European jurisdictions where they have works councils.
But the law relating to privilege is quite complex. Obviously you've got certain indicators and e-disclosure providers can help you. You can put a little exclamation mark if it's a lawyer. We always provide a list of all of the lawyers that might be involved with the data, and they will be flagged. But there are obviously a number of questions that you then have to apply after that to work out whether or not the data is in fact privileged, and sometimes they can be very, very nuanced. It might pass. I wonder if an AI could do a first pass and that might help. But in order to determine if data is in fact privileged, at least right now, I think it would be difficult to do that without some legal input.
Yeah, thank you. A very interesting question though, Mark. I'm just wondering, in this particular example, especially with which relates to privileged information and the regulation surrounding that, use of AI and then what kind of tool would be used would also that is also going to trigger a lot of other questions, because if it's like an in-house agentic AI model that you've built, essentially that is going to feed in or extract the privileged information.
And I think sort of getting IT on board right from the start obviously helps, right? Because they can obviously put their influence on the systems and how they're used, right? And so, for example, for us, it's obviously sitting in Germany, that's a major issue with having contracts stored in the US, with just not on a US server, obviously does cause an issue. So I think, and as Janos just said, right, you just have to make sure this is just a support function, right? It's not that you cannot, and this also to a point that was mentioned earlier, you cannot not have a human being reviewing whatever happens there, right? So the way that this is working, obviously, is that we are feeding the system with a legal playbook,